Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Please let me introduce you to Nandini. I am Alma Negrete from Women Who Code Santiago, Chapter Santiago. I software engineer over 20 years, now 50. But here we are with Nandini Srinivasan. She is the Vice President of Quality Assurance at Motiv, over 22 years of quality engineering. Her core area of expertise lies in raising the bar on internal quality standards to directing centralized end-to-end regression and user testing. Her having the technical expertise has been crucial in pointing teams toward automation. That word is hard for me. And improving efficiency. And as an avid advocate for women in technology and hands-on educator of the next generation, she worked with FLL robotic code. She worked like robotic code for elementary school and middle school children. Nandini believes in investing in our future generation, and as an outspoken champion for women in the workplace, she is very happy. You will know it, and unabated about the clarifying misconceptions about what roles women can serve in technology. Welcome, Nandini, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alma. That was very sweet and a very generous introduction. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for your time. Really, it's a pleasure to hear you talk about your career. And here is the first question. Can you tell us more about your career journey, please?
Sure. So as you mentioned in your introduction, I have around 22 years of experience in this industry. I started off as a UI developer back with Veritas, but very soon I gravitated towards performance engineering. It is a fragment of quality where we try to test an application to scale. So the next 5 years of my career was with US Bank, where I was focused on performance testing, financial applications. And I think somewhere around year 8, I got into the QA leadership roles, where I started leading and managing teams, became a QA manager for test automation. And my philosophy with QA automation or quality in general has always been to focus on test automation, because I feel that test automation is the best way to get the maximum efficiencies for any kind of software development process. That is also came at a time, was very timely for me, because the perception of quality has always been somebody just types in and you do what you see is what you get testing. But when you do a test automation based quality verification, it is more testing the code than just testing, doing a manual verification. It is not to discount the manual verification, because manual verification is how a user uses your product. So that is absolutely important from a user experience test. But I have kind of grown in my career, setting up teams from scratch, building test automation frameworks, building state-of-the-art test technologies, and then taking it forward. And right now, for the last around 4 years, I have been head of quality for large organizations, large quality organizations, leading software test teams, firmware test teams, and kind of channeling all these processes. So that's how my career has been so far, or that's that's what I do.
Sounds very, very, very sound great, but the other word I think is about it's a lot of things that you do around your career, but if we can take it to today, can you tell us about your day-to-day work as a VP of QA? Thinking maybe in your interaction with your team or anything else.
Sure. So from a day-to-day basis, so like I mentioned, I manage software QA teams, I manage firmware QA teams, and then and I also kind of work very closely with customer experience and customer testing, right? Just yesterday, I was telling someone that test engineering has two facets. One is the baked-in quality, what you do in-house, right? That is test coverage, test automation, all the processes, defect metrics. That's what you do in-house. The other is, how does the customer value what you have done, right? So working very closely with customer teams to see what kind of customer reported issues are coming in, how can we take what got missed or what the customer is looking at, and then beef up our test coverage. So on a day-to-day basis, I kind of try to build up these teams in terms of technology. So I always split my day as people, process, technology. So I invest in people. I'm a big believer in investing my relationships with people. So it's about talking to my team, even if it is multiple skip levels. I just will ping someone, ask them how their day is, how it's going. I talk about setting up these processes, work with my stakeholders, trying to figure out what kind of metrics they're looking for. Then I look into the firmware side. Same thing, whether it is firmware or software, the underlying structure is the same, right? What kind of tests are coming, how the release is going. And you mentioned about the teams, and it's extremely important to work with people in making sure that the way you have your leadership style, right? Because what a leader is what the team is reflective of. So it's important that my directors and managers are kind of aligned and reflective of the people invested style, because in the QA team always is working up in the last minute testing, so they need that extra support and like an all hands on deck approach to help them remove whatever they're blocking, and helping them work and more efficiently. So on a day-to-day basis, I would say looking into the issues, strategizing, creating larger strategies in terms of test technologies, where we should be getting our efficiencies from, how we can take automation to the next level, planning for scale, because as your application is growing, you have to test for scale, and making sure that you are keeping in touch with your customer success teams so the customers are happy.
That is the focus in the customer and the user. Yes. But following the same line, can you speak about the importance of automation and improving efficiency around the QA? Thinking about the team and thinking about the visual for the team, how the team see the work.
Yeah, I'm very happy to answer that, because test automation is like my passion, and I'll tell you why. Because it is very important for a quality team to be adapting themselves with their stakeholder development and product teams, right? When you have to collaborate very well with the developers, because they're the ones writing the code, but you also have to collaborate very well with your product teams, because you want to be sure that you're testing to a requirement, not just testing to what was written, right? So test automation is extremely helpful, because it helps you improve your test times, your build validation times. And at the same time, it also helps you release faster. And that is how all of our companies are operating on a daily basis, right? Hey, you should, because you want to make sure that people don't think that just because I'm testing an application, I'm putting brakes on velocity, right? So if you have a good, sound test automation framework, your test automation teams can start running in parallel with your developers. And they can start building the framework for, be it pseudocode testing or be it, to making sure. And at the same time, whatever automation is already developed, they can leverage off of it and start running regressions in the background as the code starts coming in. So automation helps improve efficiency. Automation helps you release things faster. And another important facet of test automation is it helps improve build health. So if all of us are doing multiple deployments a day, so you want to make sure that with every check-in, if you have selected automation, then you're able to give how is my build doing? How are these different build healths coming? And also I kind of emphasize the need for automation with my development teams as well, because I emphasize to them to write good unit tests. And if they write good unit tests, so unit tests, just very quickly for your listeners, is a test that tests as the snippet of code that they have just written, right? You write good unit tests, then we extend upon it to write better integrated tests, better API tests, and even UI tests to try to see the look and feel, right? And kind of like, if I also emphasize that the tech stack we use on our automation framework has to match the tech stack that our developers use. And I'll quickly tell you why. The reason is that when testing and quality is everybody's responsibility. And gone are the days where we're talking about millions of lines of code, not 1 million lines of code, right? So our code base is constantly increasing. So in order to catch up with automation, it is important that the developers can see, and in a familiar technology stack, if you ask them to write the automations to their APIs, then it is easier to merge in with the larger automation framework container. And it's also when I in most of my setups, our development teams are our peer reviewers. Our development teams are the people who work very closely with our test teams to review their automation and then take advantage of the efficiency that automation brings. So all in all, I would say is test automation is the need of the hour. It helps us in multiple ways. And most importantly, it helps you release faster.
And you save time with that. Save a lot of time. And if I'm not wrong, your last time when we take when we speak, you said the how many times you lost and money you lost if you found a bug in the production.
Yes, that's the other thing that I like to constantly remind people of is cost of quality. This is something I'm very passionate also about. I would rather invest my time and effort in finding these defects, these bugs in-house, than having the customer experience it. Not only is it 10 times more expensive to have a bug on the customer field, it is also makes for poor customer experience, right? These days, we are in the world of mobile apps and app store ratings. And once your app store ratings go down, that has very bad consequences. So you want to be sure that you invest that baked in quality that I was talking to you earlier about. You invest in that baked in quality, and you make sure that these investments help you prevent those poor experiences in the market. So yes, thank you for reminding me. That is also something that I really emphasize is the cost of quality is 1/10 in-house than when your customer experiences it.
It's a funny pain because when you found the bugs, you don't know if you can cry or you laugh because how can I pass this thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes these bugs are because the way the customer uses it. And that is where the manual testing comes in handy, right? Because
Right.
sometimes automation is just looking at a certain set of browsers and certain set of interoperability. But a manual testing will catch these edge cases, right? These kind of setup cases.
Yeah, that is why people say, well, if you can automate it, make the automatization of the testing, why you need manual testing? But this little thing fly away.
Yes.
Is the reason for the manual testing.
For edge cases, for customer users. Yeah. And I always say this, automation makes time for ad hoc testing, exploratory testing, right? You are able to think out of the box and test because you know that bulk of your regression, bulk of your functionality is covered by automation. So you are able to say, oh, okay, in this Chrome version or in this Safari version with this underlying operating system, how does my application perform, right? So it's definitely, there is no substitute for manual testing. Absolutely.
Complemented.
Yeah,
they complement each other.
Absolutely. Yes.
And in your experience, looking how the quality assurance is working, how has the quality assurance in the tech changed throughout your career?
Oh, that's where the 22 years comes in, right? Because when
I started working in COBOL and now I work in front end, so I feel the same, really.
I know. Yeah, when I started, I remember we would come into work at like 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the night, so we could do the deployments when the markets are down, because I was working for a financial company when the stock markets, nobody's there. Then we would actually take every server out of the pool. Then we would validate it. We would test in production, and it would be like a 6-7 hours of work before, and you have to make sure everything is stitched up and looking good just before the markets come up. So that was way back when you had web applications only. Then and then you had thick clients, that is, you had just standalone application testings. Then we came into the world of mobile. Then we came into the world of virtualization, where you're able to spin up these environments, right? And also in all of these, this is the deployment aspect. Then we came from agile to waterfall. Agile was there for a longest time, where QA would come all the way to the end and people would get like very little time to test, and QA would not be involved in the earlier parts, right? Then came agile, where where I actually spent some time getting myself certified, understanding agile. Then in multiple companies, I was a part of like making sure that we are implementing agile correctly. And nobody does agile in the same way. Everybody has their own flavor. They call it hybrid. But the QA testing has moved up, what we call as the shift left approach. So today, even when there is requirements written, people, you need strong voices which basically say, hey, even if you're writing a requirement, make sure that you keep test in mind. You are accounting for this application rewrite, but you're also accounting for the test time. And today, when your developer starts writing code, automation gets started. You are also creating checklists and test plans. You are working in a Scrum team in a very close coordinated fashion, where your stakeholders exactly know what you are doing, and you know what kind of requirement is coming. In some organizations, quality engineers also not just file bugs, but also give proposals for how to fix these bugs. So that the dynamics has changed from being an organization that would get called in the last four days to someone who's actually called in and made sure that this team participates and is also asking the right questions. And like I said, automation has changed the game. Today, if they even want to make platform wise, if they want to make changes, they reach out to the automation team. The whole concept of DevOps has come into the picture, right, in the last few years, which is a combination of dev and QA into taking the best into the deployment aspects and having DevOps engineers understand the pain points on both ends, right? And putting in infrastructure changes. So I think as the tech industry has changed, the quality industry has also changed. Today, the quality engineers understand all of them have good sound technical backgrounds. All of them know how to write code. All of them are very proficient at writing scripts, and they understand the system architecture way better. So yes, I think the QA industry has seen a huge change. Mobile, then came cloud, now it is all the AI triggers. So everything has changed the way, and quality has been changing and adapting itself.
Absolutely. Now it's better having a QA working with you and clarify every question that you have about the business, about the technical side, and help you to communicate maybe or write a better unit, inclusive. Every little detail is maybe investing time in the present and gain a lot in the future. So it's the better thing having a QA in the dev team for me.
And now it's not just the dev team, right? Even your support guys or customer success guys try to reach out to a QA engineer and ask them if they're able to reproduce an issue, or they ask them if there is a certain setup that they already have that they can use it as a sandbox. Pre-sales engineers work with QA teams, right? Earlier, it was just QA working with dev, but that's what I said. QA works now hand in hand with DevOps, hands in hand with product managers, hand in hand with sales, pre-sales, and customer success. So
and all the process. And
yes, exactly. Quality is everywhere now.
Quality for everyone. You just talk us a lot about what is your experience like QA in every level. But can you tell us now about how the company where you're working now, how the motive supported you, but not like technical people, technical persons, but like a leader or execute inside the company. And thinking in that case, what drew you to motive, and what keep you at the company? Vision, mission, people, culture, everything. Can you tell us?
Definitely, very happy to. So I joined Motive almost a year back, and Motive, just for your viewers, is one of the leaders in AI fleet management companies. So just to give you a perspective, right? My title is that of a vice president of quality. For a company of Motive size, and for a company of like Motive to give importance to quality such that they have a vice president reporting into a chief technology officer as a head of quality is extremely, I think just with that, they are sending a message very loud and clear about how invested the entire company is in quality, and how much they give importance to the fact that they need a leader in quality who has an equal seat at the table, who is able to go neck and neck with other technical leaders at the company itself. Another reason I was drawn to Motive is the core values. And I think I kind of exercise those core values and resonates so much with me. One of our core values is build trust. And another one that I really resonates with me is to bring down walls and build bridges. So if just, as I explained to you, quality is everywhere, right? But you have to build that trust with your stakeholders that, hey, I know what I'm doing. Here's how I'm going to test the application. And could you give me, in turn, could you give me these logs? Or, hey, I'm going to test these applications. Could you let me know how what kind of customer setup is there? So that's the kind of quality always is in a trust building exercise. And I think at Motive, with all my peer stakeholders, they have been nothing but super collaborative. And it's just been a wonderful experience so far. And I like the equality focus that we have, giving quality an equal seat at the table across all stakeholders, not just the technical teams. So I think that aspect of Motive is, I think their biggest selling point is the culture at Motive. It's a absolutely fun culture.
Sounds like a great place to work. Absolutely,
it is.
And taking back the concept that you explained us about how a good team or how a good team having diversity in the roles, and how the QA works in every stages of the product or process or develop anything. How important is it to have diversity in tech, especially around the QA?
Sure. Diversity, I think, is fundamental. It's absolutely crucial. It is the pillar, the backbone to innovation. You have to have diverse teams. It doesn't really matter whether in what your team is doing. Having a diverse team fosters thought processes from different aspects, from different backgrounds, and that is what gets you ahead of the market. And especially in a quality role, I think having that diverse team, is it's no different than any other team. So it is fundamental to have diversity. And I think I pride myself in almost every stint that I have on having around 50% women in my team. And I feel that, we all keep that goal for diversity. And it is not easy, because when you're in a business setup, you're constantly trying to fill your recs, which you needed it yesterday, right? But it takes a little bit of time, but it is achievable. You need to request your recruiters to say, okay, I would like to see as many women resumes or as many culturally diverse resumes as I am seeing than what I see right now. And also at the same time, you want to say, could you please make sure that do I have enough women coming into the interview panels, right? And then another thing I wanted to add, which I think I didn't when we last spoke, was it's not just important to interview as many women, but your interviewees, your panel also need to have women.
Right. I heard about that. Yeah, because it's so intimidating when it's just the only women sitting there, and you have a male panel asking you, why are you doing here?
Yes. So I always emphasize, and I'm very proud at Motive, we always make sure that, we have women in our panel, right? And I would say that all these different committees that we have within any organization, a hiring committee or a merit committee or whatever it is, make sure there is a woman in there, right? There's diversity, there's a presence of a woman or a diverse presence, because it's important that perspective comes in. And it's also important to send a message to your company that, hey, we have it. And I can tell you at Motive, engineering all hands or the company all hands, sometimes the people who open these all hands are women, right? And I really like that culture because it kind of says, oh, okay, it makes you feel good, right? When you see, oh, and that database engineer is opening the company all hands, or a woman in tech is opening all hands, right? So
Right.
I'm a huge proponent of diversity, and diversity across, not just in quality.
Yeah, for me, maybe it's weird when somebody said, "Oh, this is company is very like diversity," and when everybody can you see inside the company just male or just some
Yeah.
profile people, it's okay.
Yeah.
Next, the door is big. I can get by.
Yes.
And as now, in this point, we talk about a lot how you see the QA evolution, how you see day by day in your work, how is motive for you in this process in the work. But can you talk more about yourself? Maybe tell us about what are you passionate, but outside the work.
Sure, sure. So when I'm not working, so just to give you guys a quick preview, I have two boys. And they're 15 and almost 11, and so I'm a robotics coach when I'm not working. I coach a first Lego League team, and this first Lego League focuses on elementary and middle school. But when I was getting into having boys, I think it's while I would have loved to have girls too, but it's important that I raise my boys with uh, understanding and knowing that the importance of respecting women and including women, right? So I always share this anecdote with everyone that when I walk into a Target or a Walmart, I would see that there would be these pink and purple Legos for girls, and they're typically like a dollhouse or an ice cream stand, something really easy to put together. But then when you go towards the boys' side, that's when the blue and the brown Legos, which are like Star Wars or battleships, and the complicated one, like 1,400 pieces, and like important ones that actually, So what I did when as a part of being a robotics coach, I also work with underprivileged schools around San Jose. So I would take these different blue kits and go and give it as gifts to girls, because I also realized in my career and my journey with working with children that it is somewhere around the middle school mark that the girls make a decision to shy away from STEM or not be a part of STEM. So that's the age that you have to tap. So being a robotics coach, it really gave me that avenue to help work in my community, give back to my community. And the first year we went from 6 boys and 1 girl. And today we have 2 boys and 4 girls. So, it's an amazing time. I love the shift and dynamics, but I'm also very proud of the boys in my robotics team. They're all those who have graduated and those who are part. They're all really good in very inclusive. I see them conducting themselves really well, and I think that's also a function of how you coach and you let them know that hey, just because you're a girl in the team, you're not the person responsible for organizing and sorting, but you can also write code and switch out the responsibilities. So yeah, robotics is my passion, and I love being a robotics coach. And I think I watch a lot. One of the core values of FIRST is inclusion. So we always listen to TED Talks as a part of our just to explain to the children. And one of my favorite TED Talks is from Reshma Sujani. I have like a fangirl moment whenever I see or hear Reshma speak. She's the CEO of Girls Who Code, and I'm a huge follower of her. Indra Nui is another person that I look up to, coming up from a similar background from I really like, I've read every book, every podcast of hers from one place to another. And of course, I'm also a huge fan of Michelle Obama. So I'm bringing all this up to just say that when I work with the kids, I kind of try to impress upon these people to say, hey, be sure that you listen to them. And I get these fun books for them that talk about inclusion. And that's really important to me.
That small big detail for every girl in the world, when you tell her, okay, you can play with another toys that not just dolls or kitchen or everything, just no pink, no purple, no white maybe. And you had a lot of options of color, toys, book, channels, everything. And you open their minds so big, so great. And when past 5 years, 10 years, maybe, I don't know, when you can see her again and know the difference between her and other girls, it's gratifying.
It's huge. It's huge. I can tell you from a first-hand basis that the girls who grow up, knowing that even the way they speak is with so much more confidence, and they know how to recognize and spot and say, hey, don't box me in this color, okay? I know I can handle that. So I'm very proud of all of that.
Thank you. Very nice. And your time, I hope, is not a problem in this moment, but we have this last question for you.
Oh, sure.
For close the session today, great word for you from yourself. Hearing you is very, very, very and the word is agree a lot with you for everything you said. But what pro tip do you have for women in tech? Can you give us?
From a pro tip standpoint, I think I always say this to I say this to even my robotics kids. So it holds good for all ages across all of us. Is don't be intimidated. Okay, tech is for everyone. Even yesterday, I was teaching Python code to a girl from my robotics team, and that's the first thing I told her. I said, "Don't be scared. Coding is for everyone. It is fun. It's easy. So don't be intimidated." And then I would also say that don't back down. Don't let these any bad experience define how your trajectory should be. In fact, take a step back and say, this happened to me. Now, how do I learn from it? How do I move forward? Right. And I always give this example, right? I think this happened to me much later in my career too, but it stood in my head. I think around 2014, I was a manager, senior manager, and there was one of these manager trainings in our engineering organization. And I was dropping my children off, and while I made it on time, I was the last person to enter the training hall. And they assigned me to a table. There were only 2 managers who were women and 30 men. And as I entered the room, they assigned me to a table. And one of the guys leans and asks me, "So you're from HR?" So I leaned back and I said, "Are you from accounting?" And you should have seen the look on his face. It was like, no, I'm an engineering manager. Why would you even ask that, right? But these experiences could actually be discouraging. But I have learned that don't let these discouraging experiences define you. Just stand up, dust it off, and move on, because we all have a long way to go to bring about the much needed, equality that we're desiring for. And another tip I would say is definitely join a women's network, because these channels provide that safe space, that networking opportunity, and that moment of giving you that encouragement sometimes that you just need to hear.
Great. It's not another thing that take the thing yourself, for yourself, by yourself. And if the problem is there, okay, the problem will be there always. You move on. Just like a rock in the shoe. Is the word? I don't remember what it is. You can throw away. That is all the question we have. Nandini, thank you very, very much for your time. I hope no forget anything else, but please, if somebody, anybody, all the women who's hearing you, how can they contact you if you want, if they want? Okay, everybody.
I love hearing from people. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And I'm happy to be, just have a conversation, meet for a cup of coffee, anything. And I'm happy to be there for your listeners or anyone who would just like to have a conversation. So yes, please feel free. And I want to thank you all for this opportunity. So this means a lot to me. So thank you very much for this. I love talking to you, Alma. It was great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Your story, all the things you to tell us, for me, is very inspiring me in this moment. You don't have no idea how it's helping me. Every word you said, really.
Thank you.
So
thank you.
For me, it's an honor to hear you and interview you. Is the word? And thank you for the organization of Women Who Code for giving me this opportunity to stay here and ask you everything that we can in this little time we have. So that is everything. Thank you very much again, and see you next day.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for your time.